Did you know that the infamous vampire Dracula was inspired by a real historical figure? The name Dracula stirs up images of an unmerciful immortal enshrouded in a cloak of darkness, with eyes burning with an insatiable hunger for blood. This figure, existing at the heart of our deepest fears, has been cast in stone through numerous books, films, and tales, enthralling audiences for generations. However, the captivating lore of Dracula finds its roots not merely in the realm of fiction, but echoes the life of a man who once walked the earth, Vlad the Impaler. This intriguing reality behind the dreaded vampire lord is what we aim to uncover in our exploration. Join us as we pierce through the heart of myth and legend to lay bare a story that has been steeped in history, the intriguing tale of Vlad the Impaler. Before we delve into the life and times of Vlad the Impaler, let's take a look at how the Dracula legend, as we know it, came to be. The character of Count Dracula, the archetypal vampire we are all familiar with, was brought to life by Bram Stoker in his 1897 novel, Dracula. The novel is a masterpiece of Victorian Gothic horror, and it introduced the world to a character who would become one of the most enduring figures in literature and film. Stoker's Count Dracula is a centuries-old vampire who feeds on the blood of the living to maintain his immortality. He is a figure of pure evil, shrouded in a cloak of darkness and mystery. But where did Stoker draw his inspiration from? The author was known to have a keen interest in folklore and mythology, and he spent 7 years researching European folklore and stories of vampires. However, it was the historical figure Vlad III, known as Vlad the Impaler, who most notably inspired the character of Dracula. Stoker stumbled upon the accounts of Vlad's brutal reign during his research and was captivated by the Wallachian ruler's cruelty and his nickname, Dracula. Stoker borrowed this name for his vampire count, and thus, the Dracula we know was born. It's important to note that Stoker's Dracula and Vlad the Impaler are not one and the same. The novel's character is a work of fiction, a product of Stoker's imagination and his extensive research into folklore. However, the shadow of Vlad's bloody reign and his infamous nickname undoubtedly influenced Stoker's creation. As we journey into the life of Vlad the Impaler, keep in mind this connection and consider how this man's life and deeds could inspire such a terrifying figure of horror fiction. Before we dive into the blood-soaked reign of Vlad the Impaler, let's peel back the layers of myth and legend to reveal the man underneath. Born in 1431 in the heart of Transylvania, a region in modern-day Romania, Vlad III, also known as Vlad Dracula, was the product of a noble lineage. His father, Vlad II, was a member of the Order of the Dragon, a chivalric order dedicated to halting the expansion of the Ottoman Empire. This order was not only a symbol of nobility and power, but it also signified a fierce commitment to protecting Christian Europe from Ottoman invasions. The moniker Dracula, meaning son of the dragon in Romanian, was derived from his father's title Dracul, which can also mean the devil. This nickname, which Vlad himself adopted, painted an image of a fearsome warrior, a devilish figure to be reckoned with. Yet these titles and symbols only scratch the surface of the man who would become Vlad the Impaler. The young Vlad was a product of his turbulent times, his path carved by the political forces that swirled around him. As we venture deeper into Vlad's life, we will uncover the experiences that shaped him into the ruthless ruler depicted in history and myth. So, brace yourself as we delve into the early life of Vlad the Impaler, a story of power, betrayal, and a thirst for vengeance that would ultimately inspire the creation of one of literature's most terrifying characters, Count Dracula. As we leave behind the turbulent early years of Vlad III, we enter his rise to power in Wallachia, a region of present-day Romania. In a time of political instability, Vlad ascended to the throne, his path to power paved with blood and treachery. His rule was marked by an iron fist and a penchant for psychological warfare, with his most infamous method of punishment being impalement. This brutal practice earned him the chilling nickname Vlad the Impaler. His victims, often political rivals or Ottoman invaders, were skewered on long, sharp stakes, their bodies left to rot as a grim warning to others. Among his most notorious acts of cruelty was the creation of the Forest of the Impaled. After a major victory against the Ottoman Empire, Vlad impaled thousands of enemy soldiers, creating a horrific landscape of death that stretched for miles. This gruesome display was not just a testament to his mercilessness, but also a strategic move designed to instill terror in the hearts of his enemies. His reign was a constant battle against the Ottoman Empire, and Vlad used every tool at his disposal to defend his land, including terror tactics that would cement his place in history as one of the most brutal rulers of his time. Join us as we dive deeper into the life of Vlad the Impaler, a man whose thirst for power and vengeance was so great, it would inspire the creation of literature's most terrifying character, Count Dracula. Having delved into the blood-soaked reign of Vlad and his early life, we now turn our attention to a fascinating aspect of this narrative, the blending of fact and fiction that led to the creation of the Dracula myth. The cruelty of Vlad III, the historical figure, is well documented, but over time, his deeds have been exaggerated and intertwined with local superstitions to form the legend of Count Dracula. The historical Vlad was known for his ruthlessness, particularly his preference for impalement, which earned him the name Vlad the Impaler. However, it's important to remember that Vlad was a product of his time, a period marked by constant warfare and brutal displays of power. While his methods were undeniably cruel, it's likely that they were exaggerated by his enemies and later historians to paint him as a monster. Meanwhile, local folklore played a significant role in shaping the Dracula myth. The vampire, a supernatural being that feeds on the blood of the living, is a common figure in Eastern European folklore. These tales of vampires and other supernatural beings would have been familiar to the people of Vlad's time. Over time, Vlad's reputation for bloodthirstiness and his association with the Order of the Dragon, from which he derived his name Dracula, or Son of the Dragon, began to mingle with these vampire legends. Thus, the historical Vlad and the fictional Dracula began to merge in the popular imagination. Vlad's reputation for cruelty, combined with local superstitions about the undead, created a potent mix that would eventually give birth to one of literature's most enduring characters, Count Dracula. However, it's crucial to separate the man from the myth and understand that the real Vlad, while brutal, was not the blood-sucking monster of legend. In our next scene, we will continue to unravel the complex tapestry of Vlad's life, focusing on his early years and the experiences that shaped him. In the annals of history, few figures are as polarizing as Vlad III, known to many as Vlad the Impaler or Dracula. Today, in his native Romania, Vlad's legacy is a contentious one. For some, he is a national hero, a fierce defender of his homeland against the relentless incursions of the Ottoman Empire. His harsh methods, while brutal, were seen as necessary in a time of constant warfare and political instability. Others, however, see Vlad as a tyrant, a ruler whose reign was marked by egregious cruelty and bloodshed. His method of impalement, a gruesome form of execution, is often cited as evidence of his sadistic nature. Yet despite the controversy surrounding his rule, it is undeniable that Vlad's legacy has had a profound impact on Romanian culture. In literature, Vlad has been immortalized as the infamous Count Dracula, the blood-sucking vampire of Bram Stoker's novel. This portrayal has since been adopted and expanded upon in countless films, cementing Vlad's place in popular culture. But the Dracula legend isn't confined to the pages of a book or the silver screen. It's also a significant part of Romanian tourism, with sites like Bran Castle being linked to the Dracula myth, despite no historical evidence suggesting that Vlad ever resided there. These diverging views of Vlad, national hero or brutal tyrant, historical figure or vampiric legend, illustrate the complex nature of his legacy. As we delve deeper into Vlad's life and the birth of the Dracula legend, we will continue to grapple with these contradictions. In our next scene, we will explore the early life of Vlad the Impaler and the experiences that shaped this infamous ruler. Before we dive into the tumultuous early life of Vlad the Impaler, let's take a detour into the realm of fiction. How did a historical figure, a 15th century Wallachian ruler, become a vampire in a Gothic horror novel? The answer lies with one man, Bram Stoker. Stoker, an Irish author, first published his novel Dracula in 1897. His creation of Count Dracula was inspired by his extensive research into Eastern European folklore and history, including the stories of Vlad the Impaler. Stoker was drawn to Vlad's brutal reputation and the chilling tales of impalement that surrounded him. Drawing on these elements, Stoker crafted his immortal, bloodthirsty Count, forever linking Vlad the Impaler with the vampire myth. But the story doesn't end with Stoker's novel. Over the years, Count Dracula has been reimagined countless times in popular culture. From silent films to blockbuster movies, from TV series to comic books, each interpretation has added to the myth, shaping our understanding of this vampire lord. Some depictions stay close to Stoker's original character, while others take creative liberties, introducing new abilities, weaknesses, and backstory for Dracula. Despite these variations, one thing remains consistent: the enduring fascination with this character. Dracula's transformation from a historical figure into a vampire legend is a testament to the power of storytelling. It's a reminder of how stories can transcend time and place, reshaping our perception of history and myth. But as we return to the historical Vlad, remember this: the real man was perhaps even more terrifying than the vampire he inspired. Now let's journey back to the 15th century, to the early life of Vlad the Impaler. Between the fictional realm of the vampire myth and the harsh reality of Vlad's early life lies the present-day fascination with Dracula. This fascination has had a significant impact on one place in particular: Romania. The country, often associated with the birthplace of the Dracula legend, has seen a surge in tourism, with visitors from around the world flocking to explore the connection to Vlad the Impaler. They journey to sites such as Bran Castle, often marketed as Dracula's castle, despite little historical evidence linking Vlad to the fortress. They roam the streets of Sighisoara, the town where Vlad was born, now a UNESCO World Heritage Site. They delve into the darkened halls of the old princely court in Bucharest, where Vlad once held court. Each location promises a glimpse into the life of the man behind the vampire legend. But while tourism thrives on the mystique of Dracula, it has also sparked ongoing debates about Vlad's true nature. Was he a sadistic ruler, his reign defined by cruelty and bloodshed, or was he a misunderstood patriot, fiercely defending his homeland against Ottoman invasion? Some argue that his brutal tactics were necessary evils in a time of war. Others claim that his reputation has been unfairly tainted by biased historical accounts. The debate continues, with historians, scholars, and enthusiasts all weighing in on this complex figure. As we delve deeper into Vlad's life, keep these debates in mind. They remind us that history is often a matter of perspective, and that the line between fact and fiction can sometimes blur. Now, let's turn the page back to the 15th century, to the early life of Vlad the Impaler. As we traverse the corridors of history and the realms of the supernatural, we encounter a unique duality: the historical Vlad the Impaler and the fictional Count Dracula. As we've seen, the Dracula of Bram Stoker's imagination, a blood-sucking immortal creature of the night, is a far cry from the historical figure of Vlad III, a 15th century ruler known for his brutal tactics. Yet both these figures are intricately intertwined, each feeding into the other's narrative, creating a captivating blend of fact and fiction. The historical Vlad, known for his ruthlessness and strategic genius, left an indelible mark on the pages of history. His brutal reign, while terrifying, was a product of the volatile times he lived in. His defense of his homeland against the Ottoman Empire, often through extremely violent means, earned him both admiration and dread. On the other hand, the fictional Dracula, a creation of Bram Stoker's fertile imagination, has become a cultural icon, embodying our fears and fascinations with the supernatural. Drawing inspiration from the folk tales of blood-sucking creatures and the historical Vlad's notorious reputation, Stoker crafted a character that continues to haunt our collective consciousness. These two narratives of Dracula, the historical and the fictional, have shaped our perception of this figure in unique ways. They remind us that history and mythology often intertwine, creating figures like Dracula who, centuries later, continue to captivate our imagination. As we delve deeper into the life of Vlad III in the following scenes, let us remember this duality, this intriguing dance between fact and fiction that makes the legend of Dracula so enduring and fascinating. To uncover the origins of the Dracula legend, we must go back to the 15th century, to the life of a man named Vlad III. Born in the heart of Transylvania, a region shrouded in mystery and folklore, Vlad was thrust into a world of political intrigue and warfare from a young age. His father, Vlad II Dracul, was a member of the Order of the Dragon, a chivalric order dedicated to halting the Ottoman Empire's expansion into Europe. It was from this order and his father's brutal rule that Vlad III would later derive his infamous moniker Dracula, meaning son of the dragon. However, it was not just the shadow of his father that shaped young Vlad. His upbringing was marked by the tumultuous political climate of the time. He was a pawn in the high-stakes game of power between the kingdoms of Europe and the burgeoning Ottoman Empire. As a child, he and his brother Radu were held hostage by the Ottomans to ensure their father's loyalty. These years in captivity would leave an indelible mark on Vlad, hardening him and fueling a deep-seated hatred for the Ottomans that would later define his rule. Yet, amidst the strife and struggle, Vlad was also steeped in the rich folklore of his homeland. Tales of strigoi, undead creatures who fed on the blood of the living, were common in Transylvanian culture. These stories, combined with his own experiences of brutality and power, would intertwine to form the basis of the Dracula legend. The seeds of the Dracula legend were planted in these formative years, but it was Vlad's later life that would truly cement his place in history and myth. The real-life horrors he would inflict as ruler were far more terrifying than any vampire tale, and it is these deeds that would earn him the name Vlad the Impaler. But that, dear listener, is a story for another time. When Vlad III took the throne, he earned a reputation for cruelty that would make him a figure of both fear and fascination for centuries to come. His reign was a tempest of blood and terror, a rule so brutal it seeped into the fabric of folklore, giving rise to the legend we know as Dracula. But let's take a step back and look at the man behind the myth. Vlad III, also known as Vlad the Impaler, ruled Wallachia, a historical region now part of modern-day Romania, 3 separate times during the 15th century. His rule was marked by a fierce resistance against the encroaching Ottoman Empire, and an equally fierce reputation for savagery. The nickname, the Impaler, was not one earned lightly. Vlad's preferred method of punishment was as gruesome as it was effective. Impalement, a slow and agonizing death, became his signature. The victims, often Ottoman prisoners of war but also traitors and criminals within his own domain, were skewered on long, sharp stakes, their bodies left to rot as a warning to others. It's said that he once dined among a forest of impaled victims, calmly eating his meal as life ebbed away around him. His conflicts with the Ottoman Empire only fueled his notoriety. Stories of his cruelty spread, and he became a figure of dread in the Ottoman courts. Yet in Wallachia, some saw him as a defender of their land, a brutal but necessary force against the Ottoman threat. And so, we find ourselves at the crossroads of history and legend. The brutal ruler Vlad, with his chilling methods of punishment, seems a fitting inspiration for the vampire lord Dracula. But how did a 15th century ruler become synonymous with an undead creature of the night? Bram Stoker's novel Dracula, published almost 4 centuries after Vlad's death, is often credited with drawing the connection. In the novel, Count Dracula is a Transylvanian nobleman with a taste for blood, a clear parallel to Vlad's own blood-soaked rule. Stoker even hints that his fictional count may be the same Vlad the Impaler from history. But it's not just Stoker's novel that draws the connection. Eastern European folklore is rich with tales of the undead, of creatures who sustain themselves on the lifeblood of the living. Could Vlad's brutal reign, his seeming delight in the suffering of others, have sparked these tales? Did his subjects see him not just as a cruel ruler but as something more sinister, something supernatural? In the eyes of his enemies, Vlad was a monster, but was he also a vampire? As we delve deeper into the legend of Dracula, we'll explore this question and more. The line between fact and fiction may be blurrier than you think. The Dracula of legend is a blood-drinking immortal, a creature of the night. How did this image become associated with Vlad the Impaler? To answer this, we must delve into the rich folklore of Eastern Europe, where tales of the undead have been whispered for centuries. These stories often speak of strigoi, malevolent spirits rising from the grave to drain the life from the living. The parallels between these tales and the brutal deeds of Vlad are eerily resonant. It's not hard to imagine the terror-stricken populace of the 15th century attributing vampiric qualities to their ruthless ruler, who reveled in his reputation for bloodshed. Yet, the connection between Vlad and vampirism wasn't solidified until centuries later, thanks to an Irish author by the name of Bram Stoker. Stoker's 1897 novel, Dracula, became a defining work of Gothic literature, and its titular character, a debonair yet monstrous vampire, captivated audiences. Stoker, in his research, came across tales of Vlad the Impaler, and the name Dracula caught his attention. While the character of Count Dracula isn't Vlad himself, the blood-soaked history of the Wallachian ruler certainly influenced the creation of literature's most famous vampire. Stoker's novel was a sensation, and its popularity spread across the globe. As readers devoured the tale of Count Dracula, the line between the vampire and Vlad the Impaler began to blur. The name Dracula became synonymous with vampirism, and the image of Vlad was transformed. No longer was he just a historical figure, a brutal ruler from a bygone era. He became a creature of the night, an immortal predator, the embodiment of our darkest fears. So the man and the myth intertwine, but where does one end and the other begin? It's a question that continues to fascinate us. The truth about Vlad the Impaler is as chilling as the vampire legends that have grown around him, a testament to the power of history and the enduring allure of the supernatural. The name Dracula conjures images of a terrifying vampire lord, but how much of this image is rooted in the life of Vlad the Impaler? The Legacy of Dracula is a compelling blend of historical fact and supernatural fiction. The real-life figure, Vlad the Impaler, ruled Wallachia, a region of Romania in the 15th century. His reign was marked by a ruthless quest for power, enforcing his authority through brutal and, at times, gruesome methods. His favorite form of punishment, impalement, earned him his chilling moniker. Yet the character of Dracula, as crafted by author Bram Stoker in the late 19th century, is a far cry from the historical figure. The vampire lord residing in a crumbling castle, preying on the innocent under the cloak of night, bears little resemblance to the political leader Vlad. The connection between the two lies largely in their shared name and a propensity for bloodshed, real or imagined. This association, however, has entrenched the legend of Dracula deep in our cultural psyche. The character of Dracula has been adapted and reimagined countless times in books, films, and television series, each version adding to the lore of the vampire lord. The fascination with Dracula speaks to a deeper intrigue with the unknown, the supernatural, and the macabre. But it's the blurring of fact and fiction that makes the legend of Dracula truly captivating. The historical figure of Vlad the Impaler, with his brutal reign and thirst for power, provides a tangible, unnerving anchor to the supernatural tale of the vampire lord. The legend of Dracula, then, becomes a chilling exploration of the human capacity for cruelty as much as it is a tale of supernatural horror. So, while the vampire lord Dracula may be a creature of fiction, the man known as Vlad the Impaler was all too real. His life, steeped in violence and power struggles, continues to fascinate us, reminding us that sometimes reality can be as unsettling as any tale of the supernatural. As we explore the line between fact and fiction, we find that the truth can be just as chilling as the legend. Before we say farewell, we invite you to delve deeper into the unknown. There are countless tales of the supernatural, each holding a mirror to our deepest fears and darkest curiosities. From the shadowy corners of haunted houses to the eerie silence of ancient crypts, these stories beckon us to step beyond the realm of the known and explore the mysteries that lie in wait. The world is filled with legends like Dracula, each a tantalizing blend of fact and fiction, reality and imagination. And as we've seen with the tale of Vlad the Impaler, sometimes the truth can be just as chilling, if not more so, than the legends born from it. If you've enjoyed this journey into the world of Dracula, there are many more chilling tales waiting to be discovered. So, if you dare, come join us as we venture into the depths of the supernatural, uncovering the stories that have haunted our nights and captivated our imaginations. And remember, the line between fact and fiction can often be as thin as a shadow and just as elusive. If you enjoyed this journey into the world of ghostly legends, don't forget to subscribe for more chilling tales. Until next time, keep the lights on and your mind open. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the life of Vlad the Impaler and the legend of Dracula. We hope you enjoyed our exploration of the world of ghostly legends, but the journey doesn't end here. There are many more fascinating tales waiting to be discovered. From the eerie silence of ancient crypts to the shadowy corners of haunted houses, the world is filled with mysteries that beckon us to delve deeper. Each story is a tantalizing blend of fact and fiction, reality and imagination. And as we've seen, sometimes the truth can be just as chilling, if not more so, than the legends born from it. So, if you dare, join us as we venture further into the depths of the supernatural, uncovering the stories that have haunted our nights and captivated our imaginations. We invite you to subscribe to our channel, Ghostly Legends, for more chilling tales. Until next time, keep the lights on, keep exploring the unknown, and remember, the line between fact and fiction can often be as thin as a shadow and just as elusive.